Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Health Chats podcast. I am your host, Kelsey Grieveson, and today we are going to talk about stress and the impact it has on fat loss. So, I feel like stress is one of the missing pieces that no one really talks about, and there's starting to become a little bit more conversation around it these days. But I think it's something that has so much more power than we realize in terms of nutrition and workouts and discipline and all of these different areas that they might look right on paper. If you're in this chronic state of stress, fat loss becomes significantly harder. Maybe you're listening and you can relate, like, I'm hitting my macros, I'm showing up to the gym, I've been consistent, but nothing is really changing. So I want to give you grace for that it's probably not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your body is trying to protect you. So I want to start by just kind of defining stress. Like, what is stress? Stress at its core, it's the feeling of being overwhelmed or unable to cope with mental, emotional, or physical pressures, right? And if we're being honest, in 2026, everything causes stress. I know today I woke up to a snowstorm and that threw a wrench into some of the plans I had and appointments I had to go to this morning. And that caused stress, right? Our phones cause stress, our schedules, our relationships, expectations, social media, constant stimulation that we're surrounded by. We're really currently living in a world where our nervous system rarely gets a break. And so when stress goes unmanaged or untreated, it doesn't just stay in our mind, but it shows up in your body. It builds, it accumulates over time, and this contributes to inflammation, sickness, disease. You've probably noticed, whether it's people around you or even in yourself, those who are the most stressed are often the ones who also get sick pretty constantly. And it's because stress, it doesn't just affect your mindset. It really and directly impacts your immune system, your metabolism, and then your ability to lose fat. So I want to talk a bit about stress physiology and then fat storage. Knowing our bodies, the human body, it is wired for survival, not fat loss. When human beings were created, I mean, how cool would it be if it was like, and we're going to make sure that they can just lose fat and have the best physique and be aesthetically perfect and whatever these expectations we've created in our own mind. That wasn't the case. It was more humans, we need them to survive. And when you're in this survival state, the last thing your body wants to do is let go of those extra few pounds that maybe don't make you feel super confident, right? So we'll talk about cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone, and cortisol is not inherently bad. It is a survival hormone, which is designed for short bursts. It helps us fight, it helps us flight, it helps us get away from danger and then return to baseline. So the problem itself, it's not cortisol. The problem is living in it and living in elevated cortisol or chronic stress. So chronic stress, what that is, it's long term. It's the ongoing stress that your body never fully recovers from. What this can look like in humans is our toxic relationships, maybe being in a relationship that we know doesn't serve us, or maybe it's family, or maybe it's a job that drains you daily. It could be unprocessed grief or loss. It could be constant social media scrolling and comparison. It could be feeling on all the time with no real off switch. And the thing about your body is it doesn't know the difference between a lion chasing you or a toxic relationship, a bear chasing you or job pressure, a seriously stressful moment, which could be like a car accident or constant mental overload. Our body just doesn't know the difference. So what happens physiologically when we're in that chronic stress and elevated state is cortisol being that stress hormone, it's catabolic to muscle. What this means is it breaks down muscle tissue. And Cortisol is also anabolic to visceral fat. So what that means is it stores fat, especially around your vital organs. So your belly, storing belly fat. It could be around your face because your heart's right here. So you might see like a cortisol face. And what visceral fat is, it's the fat that's around your organs. This, again, being stored to protect them. And it is highly responsive to stress. So the more stressed out you are, the more your body is signaled to store fat there to protect you. So ultimately, it's like you're trying to survive, but we know on the other hand, we don't want that fat, right? So why does it matter to understand the catabolic versus anabolic? When we have less muscle on our body, we have a slower metabolism. When we have more visceral fat, we are at higher risk for disease. And again, your body is going to prioritize survival over fat loss. So an analogy that I came up with when preparing for this was an antelope running from a lion. It experiences intense stress, right? That antelope, say like you're the antelope, you're the animal, you run from the lion and it's really, really intense and stressful. But then once you escape, the antelope goes straight back down to grazing. It doesn't stay there. We're humans, we don't do that. We replay the conversation. We overthink the situation that happened and we carry stress from work. We take it home from yesterday and we bring it into today. And then we bring it into tomorrow and then we hold it for years and years and years. So knowing that about humans, I think can give us a level of compassion for ourselves because we aren't the antelope. And while we can practice a lot of stress management techniques, we are different animals and we just do have a more stressful environment and state in 2026. So that to wrap up before I get into like my next point is we cannot expect fat loss from a body that doesn't feel safe, right? So let's talk about how that like chronic stress really does override your results. You can't out-train or out-diet chronic stress. This is where I would say most and many women feel stuck because, again, you're doing everything right. You got your macros, you got your steps, you got your water, but still nothing is changing. And so when your body is under high stress, it starts speaking to you through symptoms, which you can probably relate to a lot of these. You have low energy, you have headaches, anxiety, irritability, maybe even feeling depressed sometimes. You have rapid weight gain in your face, your chest, your stomach, poor digestion, bloating, inflammation. Your heart rate might be elevated. Your muscles might feel tense or weak. You get sick all the time. Insomnia, your sleep just sucks. Or low libido. You notice that you have no sex drive. And these things, they're not random. These are all signals. So what else chronic stress does is it increases your cravings, especially quick energy, sugar, processed foods. Many of us, we get that 3 p.m. crash. And what's the first thing we go for is a chocolate bar or maybe like a bag of chips or something that's going to make us feel good. Now it disrupts our sleep, which increases hunger hormones. It reduces recovery. So your workouts, they might even feel harder when you're in chronic stress. And then it slows your metabolism through muscle loss. So ultimately, this is going to lower your motivation and consistency. If you don't have the energy, you're not recovering properly, you're reaching for quick fixes, you're not going to feel very motivated in your life, right? So it becomes a cycle that's like stress, poor sleep, low energy, missed workouts, frustration, more stress, rinse and repeat. So this is really why stress is this silent blocker. It's not as obvious as calories or workouts, but it is often more powerful. So listening to this, I want to kind of reframe that it's not a discipline issue. I know so many women listening to this, you are very driven, you are very disciplined. We give you tasks and you're like, I'm going to check off all and more. It's not a discipline issue. I would say it is a nervous system issue. And again, if your body's trying to survive, it will not prioritize shrinking. So how do we actually manage stress for fat loss? You don't eliminate stress completely, especially 2026, where we live what we're surrounded by, you either solve it or you build capacity for it. So it's the solutions or it's mental resilience. So starting with solving, what can you control? Control the controllables. Chronic unresolved stress is the most damaging. So some questions that you can ask yourself, and I understand these are big questions. Is this job draining me daily? Is this relationship creating constant emotional stress? And the hard truth is sometimes that loss, it's not about a better plan. It's really about a better environment. And you cannot heal in the same environment that is keeping you in stress. So asking yourself those questions, if you're listening to this on a replay, maybe you pause the episode right now and you really reflect on these parts of your life that maybe at one point were very important to you, but are keeping you in this chronic stress out state because you know that your health is also really important to you. And then the next one is, how can you regulate what you can't control? Because it's true, not all stress can be removed. It's not so easy just to quit a job or end a relationship. Like those are really, really big things. And I don't want to make them sound small. But having tools where you prioritize sinking into the parasympathetic state, which is that restful state. So daily walking, not going on a walk because you're trying to check it off your task list, not trying to get a speed walk in, but like really going for a walk, going outside, getting into nature, breathing fresh air, looking at the horizon. That does wonders for your nervous system when we're not looking down, but we're really looking out. Short bursts of intensity can be really good. And I want to differentiate here between like high intensity interval training, like HIIT training, not what I'm talking about. Short bursts of intensity could be something like when you're at the gym and you're lifting really, really heavy for that one set. That's intense. But then you're letting your heart rate come back down in between. High intensity training can have an adverse effect because it's longer form cardio where you're already stressed in your life. And then you go and you stay in that stress for like a 45 to 60-minute class. Probably not going to be helpful. But a short burst, like think sprint, think lifting really heavy for this 10 reps and then resting. Breath work or intentional stillness, mindfulness, sitting down, meditating in the mornings, 5 minutes is all you need. Or journaling and dumping your brain out before you go to bed. And when it's chronic, moderate stress, like rushing through your day, overthinking, constant pressure, this can actually be more damaging than short, intentional stress, like a workout. So I like to bring this in as a meditation, actually, in my own days when I'm in the kitchen, say I'm cooking a meal or something. Can I slow down and like actually enjoy cooking the meal? Or while I'm washing dishes, is my brain just trying to get the dishes washed so I can be done and like move on to the next thing? Or can I wash the dish simply to wash the dish? Like these little things really do add up and they can be more damaging over the long run. So slowing down where you can. And then building resilience. So, this is your ability to experience stress and return to baseline quickly. The goal is not to avoid stress again entirely. We have stress in our lives and it's not going anywhere, but it's to become someone who can move through it without staying stuck in it. And so, how do we build resilience? I think this is a really, really big piece. It's keeping promises to yourself is one way in your training protocol or in your life. You have stuff on your calendar. When you get to the end of the day and you're just like so tired, can you still show up? Even if you're showing up like 70%, keep that promise. You said you were going to work out. Can you actually work out? You said you're going to get your steps. Can you go on like a short walk and get at least close? Like that builds resilience inside when you follow through on those promises. Again, like stability through routines, creating something in your life where in the morning you say, okay, 5 minutes, I'm going to work out. And then before 5 minutes, I'm going to meditate. And then before bed, okay, 5 more minutes, I'm going to journal. And finding those, what I like to call the bookends to your day, where you're showing up, you're following through for yourself. I know creating wins is a really big one too. First thing you do in the morning, make your bed. You start your day with a win. This makes you feel good. And then you start searching for more ways to create more wins in your life. Emotional regulation is another one. How can you develop more emotional regulation where if you realize you react quite often, can you have a practice in your life where you go for a walk instead? You take a few minutes to yourself if it's in communication with someone and you breathe and give yourself that space to build up your emotional resilience so you can move from that place. The better you get at moving through stress and returning to baseline, the truth is the healthier you become and the longer you live. And if you feel stuck on your fat loss journey for any reason, I want you to zoom out and ask yourself, is my body actually in a state where it feels safe to lose weight? Because again, fat loss, it's not just about calories and workouts. I wish it were that simple. That'd be nice. But it is truly about the environment you're living in, the stress you're carrying, and your body's ability to feel safe enough to let go. So this week, going into the rest of the week, a question that you can reframe instead of asking, how can I do more? I want you to ask yourself, where can I create more calm, more safety, and more control in my life? And that's it. That's all I have for you today. If you have any topics of conversation that you would like me to touch on, please send me a message. Thank you for coming. I hope you all have such a lovely day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.